Hello and welcome back to the Striha Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Striha, and on today's episode, I am going to be creating and discussing my all-time Green Bay Packers team. I'm by no means a professional, but I do love talking about sports, so thank you for joining me. Now, these are obviously just going to be my all-time starters. I am not going to be creating a whole 53-man roster or anything like that. I'll kind of go through it as I'm going position by position. I'm not going to provide a lot of analysis on some of these players. These are more so just I'm putting them here because of where they rank all time in the team history and just kind of overall stats and what they did for the team. And I think it'll kind of make sense as I go. But at quarterback, I have Aaron Rodgers, who is on the team from 2005 to the present day. That could be coming to an end soon, but he is still, as of right now, a Green Bay Packer. Was a first-round pick in 2005. He has 59,055 passing yards, which is second in franchise history, only 2,600 behind Brett Favre. He has 475 passing touchdowns, which is first in franchise history, 105 interceptions, which is fifth most in NFL or in franchise history. But obviously he's going to have a lot. He's played a lot more games. 3,466 rushing yards, which is 11th in franchise history. He needs only 246 to move into the top 10. He has 35 rushing touchdowns. Which is tied for 6th in franchise history. He needs 3 more to move into the top 5. He is a 4-time league MVP, which is most in franchise history and second in NFL history. He is a 4-time first-team All-Pro, a 10-time Pro Bowler, a career record of 150, 79, and 1, which is the most wins in franchise history. He has a postseason record of 12 and 10, and he is a 1-time Super Bowl champion with the Super Bowl MVP. At running back, I have Amon Green, who was a running back for the Packers from 2000 to 2006, and then in 2009. He was traded from Seattle to Green Bay in 2000 before he signed a 5-year, $18.375 million deal in 2001. He had 1,851 carries for Green Bay, which is the most in franchise history, 8,322 rushing yards, which is first in franchise history, 54 rushing touchdowns, which is second in franchise history, 4.5 yards per carry, 2,726 receiving yards, which is 20th in franchise history, 14 receiving touchdowns, tied for 30th in franchise history, 1-time second-team All-Pro, and a 4-time Pro Bowler. At fullback, I have Jim Taylor, who was on the team from 1958 to 1966. He was a second-round pick in 1958. He had 1,811 carries, which is second in franchise history, 8,207 rushing yards, which is second in franchise history, 81 rushing touchdowns, which is first in franchise history. He also has a 40 touchdown lead on the next closest active Packer, which is Aaron Jones. He had 4.5 yards per carry, 1,505 receiving yards, which is 46th in franchise history, 10 receiving touchdowns, which is tied for 50th in franchise history. Was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, was the league MVP in 1962, won 4 championships with Green Bay in 1961, 1962, 1965, and 1966. He retired as the NFL's second all-time leading rusher and was Hall of Fame class of 1976. Wide receiver 1, I have Don Hudson, who played for Green Bay from 1935 to 1945. He signed with Green Bay for $300 a game because the draft didn't exist back in 1935. He had 488 receptions, which is 7th in franchise history, 7,991 receiving yards, which is 5th in franchise history, 99 receiving touchdowns, which is 1st in franchise history, was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-team All-Pro, led the NFL in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns 9 times, retired in 1945 as the NFL's leader in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. His career touchdown mark was an NFL record for 44 years until Steve Largent passed him. He won 3 championships with Green Bay in 1936, 1939, and 1944. His number 14 is retired by the team, and he was a Hall of Fame class of 1963. My wide receiver 2 is Sterling Sharp, who played for Green Bay from 1988 to 1994. He was a first-round pick in 1988. He had 595 receptions, which is 3rd in franchise history, 8,134 receiving yards, which is 3rd in franchise history, 65 receiving touchdowns, which is 4th in franchise history, was a 5-time Pro Bowler, and a 3-time first-team All-Pro. He was also forced to retire early due to a serious neck injury. Had he not retired, I do believe his numbers would have probably exceeded those of Don Hudson. At wide receiver 3, I have Jordy Nelson, who played for the team from 2008 to 2017. He was a 2nd-round pick in 2008, had 550 receptions, which is 4th in franchise history, 7,848 receiving yards, which is 6th in franchise history, 69 receiving touchdowns, which is 3rd in franchise history, was a 1-time Pro Bowler, was Comeback Player of the Year in 2016, and won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011. At tight end, I have Jermichael Finley, who played for the team from 2008 to 2013. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2008. He had 223 receptions, which are 24th in franchise history, 2,785 receiving yards, which is 19th in franchise history, 20 receiving touchdowns, which is tied for 22nd in franchise history. He won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011, but he did not play due to a knee injury, and he was also forced to retire early due to a serious neck injury. At offensive tackle, I have David Bakhtiari, who played for the team from 2013 to present day. He was a 4th-round pick in 2013, is a 3-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time first-team All-Pro, and a 3-time second-team All-Pro. At offensive guard, I have Mike Michalski, I don't know how to pronounce that one, who played for the team from 1929 to 1937. He signed with the Packers in 1929. He won 3 straight championships with Green Bay in 1929, in 1930, and 1931, and is the Hall of Fame class of 1964. At center, I have Jim Ringo, who played for the team from 1953 to 1963. He was a 7th-round pick in 1953, is a 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-team All-Pro, and a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Won championships with Green Bay in 1961 and 1962, and is the Hall of Fame class of 1981. At offensive guard, I have Jerry Kramer, who played for Green Bay from 1958 to 1968. He was a 4th-round pick in 1958, is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, and 1-time second-team All-Pro. Won 3 championships in 1961, 1962, and 1965, and won 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay. He is the Hall of Fame class of 2018. At offensive tackle, I have Forrest Gregg, who played for the team from 1956 to 1970. He was a 2nd-round pick in 1956, is a 9-time Pro Bowler, a 7-time first-team All-Pro, and a 1-time second-team All-Pro. He won 3 championships, 1961, 1962, and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls, 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay, and was the Hall of Fame class of 1977. At defensive end, I have Reggie White, who played for the team from 1993 to 1998. He signed a 4-year, $17 million deal with Green Bay in 1993, which at the time was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, free agent deal in NFL history. He has 68.5 sacks, which is 5th in franchise history, 8 fumble recoveries, was a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year in 1998, won Super Bowl 31 with Green Bay in 1996. His number 92 is retired by the team, and he was the Hall of Fame class of 2006. At defensive tackle, I have Gilbert Brown, who played for the team from 1993 to 2003. He was a third-round pick in 1993 by Minnesota, but was cut in the preseason before Green Bay ended up signing him. He had 7 sacks, which is tied for 76th in franchise history, and 1 fumble recovery. But he did win Super Bowl 31 with Green Bay in 1996. At defensive tackle, I have Henry Jordan, who played for the team from 1959 to 1969. He was traded from Cleveland to Green Bay in 1959. He had 59.5 sacks, which is 7th in franchise history, 20 fumble recoveries, was a 4-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time first-team All-Pro, and a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Won 3 championships in 1961, 1962, and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay, and was the Hall of Fame class of 1995. At defensive end, I have Willie Davis, who played for the team from 1960 to 1969. He was traded from Cleveland to Green Bay in 1960. He has 99.5 sacks, which is first in franchise history, 22 fumble recoveries, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, won 3 championships, 1961, 1962, and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay, and was the Hall of Fame class of 1981. At outside linebacker, I have Clay Matthews, who played for the team from 2009 to 2018. He was a first-round pick in 2009. He has 83.5 sacks, which is 2nd in franchise history, 5 fumble recoveries, 6 interceptions, which is tied for 78th in franchise history, 121 tackles for loss, which is 1st in franchise history, is a 6-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, and 1-time second-team All-Pro, and won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011. At middle linebacker, I have Ray Nitschke, who played for the team from 1958 to 1972. He was a third-round pick in 1958. He had 16 sacks, which is tied for 44th in franchise history, 25 interceptions, which is tied for 12th in franchise history, 23 fumble recoveries, 1-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, and 3-time second-team All-Pro. Won 3 championships in 1961, 1962, and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay. His number 66 is retired by the team, and he was a Hall of Fame class of 1978. At outside linebacker, I have Dave Robinson, who played for the team from 1963 to 1972. He was a first-round pick in 1963, had 22 sacks, which is 32nd in franchise history, 9 fumble recoveries, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, and a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Won 1 championship in 1965 and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay, and he was the Hall of Fame class of 2013. At cornerback, we have Herb Adderley, who played for the team from 1961 to 1969. He was a first-round pick in 1961. He had 39 interceptions, which is 3rd in franchise history, 7 pick sixes, which is 2nd in franchise history, 13 fumble recoveries, and was a 6-time Pro Bowler, as well as a 5-time first-team All-Pro and a 2-time second-team All-Pro. He won 2 championships in 1962 and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay. At safety, I have Leroy Butler, who played from 1990 to 2001 with the Packers. He was a second-round pick in 1990, had 38 interceptions, which is tied for 4th in franchise history, 1 pick six, which is tied for 26th in franchise history, 10 fumble recoveries, 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, won Super Bowl 31 with Green Bay in 1996, was the Hall of Fame class of 2022, and he also created the Lambeau Leap. At safety, we have Willie Wood, who played for the team from 1960 to 1971. He signed with Green Bay as a rookie free agent in 1960 after going undrafted and requesting a tryout with the team. He had 48 interceptions, which is 2nd in franchise history, 2 pick sixes, which is tied for 9th in franchise history, 16 fumble recoveries, 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, and 2-time second-team All-Pro. Won 3 championships in 1961, 1962, and 1965, and 2 Super Bowls in 1966 and 1967 with Green Bay, and he was a Hall of Fame class of 1989. At cornerback, we have Charles Woodson, who played for the team from 2006 to 2012. He signed a 7-year, $52.7 million deal with Green Bay in 2006, had 38 interceptions, which is tied for 4th in franchise history, 11.5 sacks, which is 57th in franchise history, 6 fumble recoveries, 384 solo tackles, which is 9th in franchise history, 9 pick sixes, which is 1st in franchise history, was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year in 2009. He won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011 and is a Hall of Fame class of 2021. At kicker, we have Mason Crosby, who played for the team from 2007 to present day. He was a 6th-round pick in 2007. He has 395 out of 485 made field goals, which is 81%, which is 5th in franchise history, but technically 2nd just based on the amount of kicks he's had. It's kind of a weird situation. He made 733 out of 753 extra points, which was a 97% make rate, which is 28th, but technically 7th in franchise history. His career long is 58, and he won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011. At punter, we have Tim Mastay, who was on the team from 2010 to 2015. He signed with Green Bay in 2010 after going undrafted in 2009 and signing with the Colts. He had 390 punts, which is 2nd in franchise history, had 17,230 punt yards, which is 2nd in franchise history, 44.2 yards per punt, which is 8th but technically 5th in franchise history, and he won Super Bowl 45 with Green Bay in 2011. And lastly, at head coach, we have Curly Lambeau, who was on the team from 1921 to 1949. He had a 209, 104, and 21 career record, which is the most wins in franchise history and 5th in NFL history. He won 6 championships. He is the namesake of Lambeau Field. He has a statue out front, and he was the Hall of Fame class of 1963. As always, I am your host, Parker Striha, and this has been the Striha Sports Podcast. Our random sport fact of the day is that the longest field goal in NFL history is 66 yards by Justin Tucker. As always, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever a new video gets posted.